I want, first of all, to look at Israel, who is working on the construction site and is busy, probably doing a hell of a good job in the day's work, which is kind of how I envision him.
Absolutely, always.
And I would like some idea of where you think a really nice, noisy urban environment for that is.
He is in Corona, which is a suburb in the eastern part of the valley. It's hot. There's a lot of home, not construction, but kind of improvement, rebuilding going on. It's kind of middle class, as opposed to other parts, like Santa Monica or someplace like that.
I'm going to say, okay, go ahead. Sorry.
So he would probably, he works for a foreman of some sort that hires him to come in and do roofing. Roofing's a particularly nasty, brutal job. Let's say doing roofing.
Excellent. Well, there are, you are given the job of managing a group of people who have been brought in for the really, really nasty part of it all. They arrive in an anonymous-looking bus, and the bus is accompanied by a small, secure-looking van. Police officers will get out of the van, kind of largish police officers, as a matter of fact, or people with similar uniforms, and then the people who come out are all wearing not like they're wearing what you would think of as safety vests, which are a dull orange, and they all say Los Angeles County Corrections on the back.
So I've been given like a
chain gang
recruit.
Hey man, free enterprise, right? Their labor belongs to the state. Well, or to whatever company the state is outsourced to. Whatever that is. Probably their logo's on the van somewhere.
Israel is dubious about this because while roofing work is hard and nasty and seemingly simple, it's also easy to screw up. You can put the shingles the wrong way. So if I've been put in charge of a labor gang like this, I'm going to go over to the foreman and say, hey, we need to have these guys pouring cement or digging trenches or bending rebar. I can't use them.
Okay. Right.
What if they fall off? What if they do the roof wrong? That's a skilled labor.
The important thing, as he'll point out, is that they are cheap, and as far as them getting hurt is concerned, they're plentiful, and as and that they don't, that he doesn't, his company, the construction company, doesn't have to pay insurance because they're convict labor and have been leased out, and that's someone else's problem. And so
I'm already aware that my employer is unconcerned with workman's comp because I'm illegal.
That's right. Well, let's use the right phrasing. Undocumented. But
undocumented.
Right.
Okay. Nevertheless, I'm already aware that workman's comp's a little thin on the ground in this job site. So, but nevertheless, whoever these men may be, I don't think they're useful on the roof, and I just think it's a very bad idea all the way
Excellent.
around.
Go ahead.
Some
right.
other use for them.
Why don't you roll your presence? And considering that your monologue is quite nicely done, and I don't think any other effects matter. Reputation as Carhartt is irrelevant, so it's neither plus nor minus, for example. Give a +1 die for your monologue, and tell me what you get.
You want me to make my presence roll or presence attack? Just my presence roll, right?
Oh, sorry. That reminds me of something. The concept of rolls based on presence or strength is completely gone. Presence and strength are utilized one way and one way only. 1 die per 5 points.
Okay.
So they do not have resolution rolls. They have impact. And so you don't have to roll.
So I'm just going to roll and add them together and give them to you.
That's right. So
Okay.
I believe that's what, you have presence of what, 15 or something like that?
10.
The total is 10? Okay. So the foreman kind of blinks a little bit at being spoken to, and goes, yeah, okay, whatever. By which he's not ordering any differently, but he's not paying any attention to what it is you may do next. He's sort of deliberately not paying attention to whatever it is you direct next. So it may be that you can get the guys working somewhere else without it getting any flack for it.
Yeah, I'm going to hand these guys off to one who's bending rebar over here where they're redoing part of the foundation.
Right. Sounds
They'd be
good.
useful over there. Then I go back up to the roof to do my roofing work.
There you go. Okay. So there you go. And since you now no longer have a crew, but nobody's up there to watch you, we can have a quick little private view of what Strength 40 can do when nobody's looking, in terms of roofing work, which is probably pretty impressive, is my guess. Does that make sense?
I never get tired.
Right. Yeah. There you go. Yeah.
Building the nail gun.
Right. When they right.
And I pick up the whole stacks of shingles by myself and carry them up.
No, I totally get it. It's fortunately, and through the luck of secret identity, nobody notices in any way that bothers anyone, and we all get to be impressed. So I completely get it.
Right.
And you saved a bunch of convicts dangerous work from their exploitation anyway. Although I will point out that the distinction between justice and law should be quite clear in Israel's mind at this time, given that psychological limitation. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I get how distasteful it is. I also not incidentally saved the homeowner from having a roof that leaks.
That's right. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I get that. So, as a prof at UCLA, that's correct, Rick?
Correct.
Okay. I want you to be in a situation where there is a distinguished visitor to the department.
Okay.
And he's going to give a. He has some administrative meetings, and he also has there's sort of a mingle / presentation. He'll give a little presentation, and then there's more mingling, like for the faculty and the grad students. It's kind of understood that undergraduates are not. This guy's time is a little more valuable than undergraduates. So he has a talk with the dean. He has a talk with the department head. He is a fellow who's one of these sort of ageless looking guys. He could be anywhere from early 30s to 50, with the kind of slightly going gray, dark brown hair, and he's from a committee that is actually a joint effort across several different think tanks, one of which is based here in Southern California, and so he's there specifically under its auspices. But it's also known that the committee in question includes think tanks in Washington, D.C., and also in a couple of other areas near Washington, D.C., like Georgetown, Langley, and a couple of places like that.
So what kind of a think tank?
They consider themselves a bipartisan American values and policy, innovative policy. Okay. Is the way they put it. In other words, the way they describe it is full of doublespeak. But one of the think tanks that contributes quietly is the American Enterprise Institute, and it is the least intense of them. So this fellow, his name is C, like with a C initial. C. Brett Bell is the guy's name. And he looks well-fed. He looks fit. He looks like he's been around the block once. So he doesn't look just like a bureaucrat or a tame cat. He actually looks fairly vigorous, intense, physically active. But he's also got that sort of pleased, he knows everybody here is kissing his ass. He's kind of liking it. And so in his presentation, he speaks of, and I'm thinking of one of these places that's a little bit more comfy than an auditorium. This is more of a departmental socializing place. It's set up so enough people can listen, but it's also social. There's a table by the side. There's, it can mill around. The furniture is a little more like padded and comfy and a little less institutional. Being LA, it's got real nice floor-to-ceiling glass windows, and is best described as modern, light, and airy. So that's the academic kind of setting that we're in. The upper end of academic get-togethers, if you see what I mean.
Okay, yep.
So Bell, Dr. Bell, they call him, has a... he's introduced his distinguished service with the State Department is mentioned. And he also, he laughs a little when they say that, and he says, well, informal, of course. And, he's the contributing editor to a series of books that are essays of different deep thinkers on the direction that, America needs to go. Now, okay. So he wants to talk about some interesting history. Now, you didn't really realize this until he starts talking, but he talks a lot about the historical roots of famous legendary figures. And he points out, for example, he shows pictures of St. George. And he begins with the propaganda posters of World War I, which show St. George. And what's funny is that the posters are exactly the same for both Britain and Germany. They're both St. George killing a dragon, and they're identical. It's just they're four opposite sides. And he shows those, and then he goes back to older pictures. He goes to medieval European pictures. And then he shows a map and shows where St. George killed the dragon, allegedly, which is in a valley in Lebanon. And he points out that Girgis was a Christian Turk. And that, and then he flashes back to those posters, and maybe even a more modern picture of St. George, perhaps a very commercialized one, in some pop culture reference. And he said, and of course it's this weak-chinned white guy, nobly on his horse and everything, plate mail or something, and or maybe a chain hauberk or something, but very, very, very familiar St. George for us. And then he clicks, and then he as a joke, he says, when actually he must have looked something like this, and pops up a very stereotyped 19th century picture of a Turk who looks like he's about to commit prison rape. I mean, it's that kind of a debased Turk. that was very popular in the imagery of that time, of the height of the British Empire. And so, and you know, everybody kind of chuckles nervously because the picture is kind of offensive. And what he points out is that, and this is where his talk really gets intense, this is right and proper. The world changes. Power flows to where it, you know, the natural course of events will take it. And the legends flow with it and are overtaken by it and reshaped into the new powers. And so, regardless of wherever St. George began, and he kind of smiles a little bit and he says, he's ours now. And he talks about there's a visit to the university, because your department is like a really good one for this stuff, and it's a tour up and down the west coast of antiquities from Iraq. Now your character certainly knows of the destruction and theft of many artifacts in Iraq over the last decades, and so what matters here is that this is a goodwill. It's from the government of Iraq today, and it's a goodwill visit saying, look, here are some antiquities, you know, that are really, really important to us that we still have, and we're going to let them tour in the States. And so you see, you know, it's kind of a no blood, no foul, you know, we're still good. And you know that kind of behind the scenes, there's negotiations about maybe getting some of the taken ones back after that. So that there's some tension going on with this, and these antiquities are currently at the university. Well, Bell refers to that, and he points out that sure, you know, some things still nominally remain in the control of these washed out governments in these powerless areas. But he nods and he says, but they'll arrive where they belong eventually. And so this is, you can see kind of the way his talk is going. And it continues in this vein. The notion of, he talks about force projection. We now have force projection in every ocean, on every shore. We are capable of visiting destruction upon any square inch of this earth that we care to. And there's nothing anyone can do about it, despite their bluster. Space, force projection from space, will be under our control. And he kind of looks up and says, momentarily. And so he says, and all things will be shaped in tune with this new reality.
How are the audience reacting?
He's a good speaker, and he never frames American power in anything except the most uplifting and, as he says, kind of a, well, this is the way it turned out, and thus is the way that it went, and that it's going. And looking ahead, do we see anything except more of the same? The trajectory has been one way the whole time. When he refers to previous empires, he talks about them as kind of false starts or rough drafts. So no, we're not just another empire. Empire is not the right word. And he says this word is thrown around a lot and it's misused a lot, but believe me, there are plenty of us who have given a great deal of thought to the true meaning of the word globalism. So anyway, that's kind of where this talk is going. How are you doing in the audience there? How many switches did I flip in the last 5 minutes?
Well, I mean, I guess if I'm looking around and seeing that there's a lot of, not a lot of disagreement with him, I guess I'm
Ooh, make a
curious to find out.
little intelligence roll.
Sure. It's an 8, so
Excellent.
I think
Okay.
I'm,
Well, this you probably didn't need an intelligence roll for this, what with being a faculty member and all, but it's kind of hard to disagree with somebody who just like approved a substantial endowment to the department.
got it.
And
But still, the facial expressions are often hard to
right,
hard to find.
but people can talk themselves into things. You know, especially when they've all been glad handing and the money has come over, and you know it's kind of unfortunate. You're getting kind of an unpleasant insight into your colleagues that they can talk themselves into compliance, even if maybe in different circumstances they would disagree.
I'm and maybe I'm getting the wrong vibe here, but I'm kind of getting the impression that maybe something is planned against the antiquities that are at the university at the time.
It doesn't sound good, does it?
So you know, not gonna run out of the room, but going to, as politely and socially gracefully as possible, get out of the room.
Good idea. Right. So you're like, wait a minute, still, So yes, I presume you're going to go and check on the priceless artifacts, the politically sensitive and priceless artifacts. Right.
Correct.
Gotcha. All right. Let's hold off on that just for a moment. Of course.
Sure. Of course.
And this is sort of for more context, a little bit that I need to know. Jason, if you don't have a name for your character's brother.
Sure.
Okay.
Salome.
Wait. Like.
Salome.
Okay. He has recently taken to hanging out with a bunch of dropped out would-be internet music producers who have a shared apartment.
It's LA.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But certainly not the first nor the last such group. And they have gone to great effort to try to find where the Doors used to hang out. Down by, that was like down by the beach, down by Muscle Beach and stuff, right?
So like Venice Beach.
Yeah,
Venice Beach.
Yeah, and so
Beach,
yeah, and so they've found a flat there which they claim is where like one of the Doors lived at some point, and have set up their little recording studio with blankets on the walls and stuff like that, and are trying to set up their website and all. Anyway, you know about this because unfortunately your brother has told you all about it.
Twice.
Yeah. So, but who should be so surprised as you to hear, as you are done for the day, and I guess it's probably one of the one of the people who's paying for this complex to be built, who's come up to like look over, the work and shake hands with the foreman and just kind of get a look at, he drops by every day to see how it's gone today or every couple days. So it's one of these guys, and so he's there, and he's got a woman with him who looks sort of severe, and he's listening. He's listening to some music, and he goes, "Oh, hey, you got to listen to this. That's the song that your brother was telling you about, with his lyrics."
Wow.
Yeah, it's gone viral. So yeah. So you're listening to this. Let me give you just a little bit more to go on. The woman speaks up, and I would like to know her name, Rick.
Her name is Hope.
Hope. Oh,
Hope Walker.
fantastic. Hope is going to start asking the foreman some technical questions about the use of undocumented and convict labor. Say that again, please, Jason.
She's asking me about it?
No, not at all. She's asking the foreman. Is basically has a list of things that she's ticking off, a bunch of questions that she is to ask. Now, Hope doesn't look like an idiot, and when the foreman answers questions, which mean that she is, for example, supposed to check yes instead of no in her two little columns, she always pops her eyes up and scans the yard, and more than once, lingers on you and a few other people as she's looking. So, the foreman's going, oh no, everybody, it's all documented, all the rest, got all the papers, you can check them out right here, he says, in the envelope the folder he carries for this purpose. Hope doesn't even bother looking at the folder. She looks around.
I don't want to have anything to do with this. I start
Right.
loading up my work. I don't have anything to do with such a conversation.
What's very amusing is that you and about 6 other people start doing exactly as you describe, and Hope notes that. No problem. Instantly spots it for what it is, and is working away. Little beknownst to you, Hope is not seeking undocumented workers for deportation. Hope is actually coming from a very different angle, but there's no way for your character to know that. So, at the way she looks as though yeah.
Sounds like trouble.
Yeah, I mean, the way she looks like trouble. I'll give you that much right now. So, okay. That's going on. And so, to get back to the brother thing, there's a song that is talking about Jesus Malverde. And Jesus Malverde, as your character knows, and you probably know quite well, I imagine, is a sort of a folk hero of northern Mexico, probably cobbled together from a variety of historical figures, who's very much a Robin Hood, very much a bunch of rich landowners around here, a bunch of dicks, and a bunch of our hardworking, scrabbling, regular folk, and let's do something about that. That's kind of where the folk hero is coming from.
He legends say he fought the Porfiriano.
Okay.
The government that ruled in Mexico from about 1880 to about 1915.
Right. Yeah. The whole Mexican Revolution situation. I mean, that's precisely is one of the in that zone. So my grandfather on my mom's side came from Mexico to the southern United States, and he was actually a Basque ethnically, but he lived in Mexico, and it was about at that time. The political circumstances have been lost to family history. But anyway, so the point is that he is what your brother's pals are singing about. It's kind of interesting because it's talking about how Jesus Malverde isn't going to save you. Look out. You wait for the hero ain't going to come. And this is important to you because the coyotes that brought you over use that legends to lure people. That's why they use the name. They use it as a way to kind of sell themselves as benefactors. And so that's right. Oh yeah. But this song's kind of might make you a little nervous to some extent. Well, who knows? I'm not going to say how your character feels. I am going to say that your brother's music or lyrics seem to be a little spot on as far as beware of putting your hope in this hero. Nothing against Jesus Malverde historically, so much as look out for the bastards who will use any name to their own ends. So that's what this is going on. And it's catchy too. Yeah, it's.
I'm a little alarmed by this whole thing. Again, I'm happy for my brother, but at the same time, I'm a little alarmed about the subject matter.
Yeah. It's in. I figure a little itchiness is called for. So cool. Tell me if you're going to do anything now that the work day is concluded.
My work day is concluded, so I, at this point, attempt to call my brother on the phone to congratulate him on his success.
Excellent.
Now that I'm driving from Corona to, where do I live? Let's say I live in Sina.
No problem. You'll have to tell me a little bit more about that.
You live where? Where do you live?
Maybe Encino.
Encino.
Right. Okay.
Encino.
Excellent. So the only thing I can say is that sadly, your brother is lost again. I mean, you get him on the phone, but he's really glad you called because he's kind of lost. He keeps turning around and around. He says, "I swear I've gone," in Spanish. He says, "I swear I've gone past the same corner 7 times. And I've been going in a straight line. So where the fuck am I?"
I tell him Santa Monica just looks the same no matter where you go.
It's okay, so, where do I pray to Santa Monica so I can get out of here? Where's the shrine so I can pray to her? Being the first person in decades who ever referred to the actual origin of a Southern California town. So, yeah.
I tell him to stay put. I'll head towards towards Venice and we'll figure it out.
All right, so this doesn't happen often, but it does happen. He was thinking about something, riding the bus maybe. He just got to thinking, and then he looked up. Rick, let's take a look now. So the halls of Academe are hushed and relatively empty because this is after the working day is over and the secretaries and so on have locked up, and so proceeding from office door to office door and to the area of the departmental library where the antiquities are currently kept is all very I wouldn't say it's spooky, but it's definitely not the bustling, well-lit, temple of learning that it is during the ordinary day. And so,
so I take it I didn't really run into many people.
Correct. Now, in that atmosphere, it's quite a relief to you to get to the untouched antiquity collection, which is still in its cabinet and relatively unscathed, as far as you can tell.
Okay.
And so, there we go. All right. Therefore, it probably is going to be a very unpleasant surprise when you turn around and, considering the rolling question, did not notice the person who is now standing in the doorway to this annex of the departmental library. What you have is a fellow who, as far as you can tell, is Bell, but is dressed very differently.
Okay.
And it's a, I'm going to put this, I wouldn't say like a paramilitary outfit, but it's but it is more paramilitary than anything else. I mean, it's got a utility kind of action one piece going on. And the weird thing about it is the piping, I guess you would call it, these horizontal metallic lines in kind of a V but a whole bunch of them, like parallel V, going down the front. And his face is masked, not in a way that really conceals him. Now that you've seen Bell up front, that doesn't. I mean, it doesn't like hide him from you particularly. But the but it's more of an ornamental repeat of the V pattern coming down through the eyes, and so the he comes through the door, and there's a glow that's appearing behind him, getting brighter and brighter and brighter and brighter, and he goes, "Oh, I'm sorry." And then he holds up his hand. A gun spins right there, pointing up now, and he says, "But what's one more?"
I'm going to try and dodge if it looks like he's shooting at me.
So, yes. Okay, so the way this works is we're not using, I mean, we use the term combat value, but it's not a new number. All we do is take the differences in the dexterities, and that's what modifies 11.
Yep.
So
I'm gonna do a martial dodge with my overall skill level in defense.
That's probably a +6 or something disgusting like that, right?
It is.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not even disgusting. And I have a dex roll of 13 because I am not in my hero ID, which gives me a 14.
Right, and so right, and so what this is going to get you, I now have your defense, which is actually a 19, and his, which is also kind of gross, because you suddenly realize that when he pointed that gun, whoosh, you lit up, as if somebody had shined a spotlight on you.
Okay.
So. Now, your martial dodge is pretty impressive. So the question is, it's tracking you as you're, unpredictably dodging out of the way. So we'll see where we get with this.
Absolutely.
Oh, with rolling a 6. He had a 10 or less.
That's probably pretty successful.
Yeah, which is, right. He had a 10 or less, and so he rolled, so you were actually ahead of the game. But he did roll the 6. And so, therefore, you... are going to, and you're not in your hero ID.
Correct.
Okay.
So my defense is 10, by the way.
Yes. And so, first of all, this is going to do 11 points of stun, which isn't very much. So you're only going to take 1 whole point of stun, but it will do 4 hexes of knockback. So the first thing is this ridiculous, if not very damaging, but ridiculously concussive effect that just blows you off your feet and will do 4, because it's 4 hexes. We don't say inches anymore because why? They're just hexes. Not that hexes means much either, but at least it's a nice abstract unit. Ooh, nasty. And this is going to be actually 19 points of damage, so you're going to take 9 more stun. The body doesn't get through. And so, and that's from you hitting, like, the wall and the books and the shelves and them all falling on you and you hitting the ground. I mean, it's painful. Doesn't stun you, obviously.
Obviously.
But, because you have twice your body is more than this, I think. Than 19, but it didn't feel good at all. And then the other and then the other half of the attack is this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Excellent. That you are the effect is so it's such that you are pinned down. You are having trouble controlling your muscles and making your strength actually get you anywhere. Okay. So if you really force your strength, it would be a strength roll, to struggle against this and master your musculature and make it do what you want, then you'll be able to break free. But at the moment, you are, in game terms, entangled. So,
Got it.
So yes, a high concussive blast plus a small high concussive blast plus an entangle is what you've just been hit with. And so he fired the gun at you, and if it weren't for that tracking light that had gone with it, he definitely would have missed. And so yeah, and you'll see now that he has 2. And while you're he glances at you as you're there, he saw that martial dodge. He wasn't really expecting that. You're not stunned. Therefore, you have an action. This is segment 12. Oh, sorry. Oh, did I say that? This is segment 9. And so therefore, yeah, you're going to catch me on that a lot. And so therefore, your action on segment 9 is completely legit.
Okay. So I assume that I'm still in his field of view. I didn't.
That's correct.
Fall behind. I didn't fall behind something. I mean, I don't know what. It's a library. Who knows whether there's books.
There's crap on top of you, but you do have line of sight on each other. Yes.
Okay. All right. Then I'm going to think to myself before I act that it would be nice if I could get some assistance.
Right. Oh yeah. I hear you. I hear you.
But I am going to not really immediately try and give up my secret identity. So I'm going to see if I can break free of the entangle with my current situation.
What is your current strength?
My current strength is 15.
15's not bad. There's always pushing, which would take you up to 25 if you want to spend all that endurance, which is fun.
Let's go ahead and do that.
Yes. Okay. I love pushing. And so that's going to cost you 3 plus 10, 13 endurance, and you get to roll 5 dice.
Okay, so 5 dice. Not the best of rolls. Am I counting body or am I counting
body?
Body. Well, in that case, 5.
Not bad. Not bad. Hey, 2 and a 3 is as good as a 4 and a 5. So
well, there was 4 2s and a 4. So that's why I said not a good roll. But
like I said, for body purposes, you're good. It's an easy die, very forgiving die, except when it's not.
Except for when it's a 1.
Yeah, except when a raft of those come up in that crucial body count and roll, and you're like, oh, ouch. So we have you get, as you say, 5 body, and you were up against 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He had rolled 2 6s and a 1, and so that gives him the 6. So you are able to struggle against the defense and almost make it. I mean, you managed to crack. You managed to get a little distance on this. But still, you're like, this is bad. I mean, the worst of it is that he starts a little lecture, a little bit. He says, it's the real nice thing about being a real American. He says, it's okay to take things. And so keeping one eye on you, he can't move because he's had his move, but I can tell you his intent is to keep an eye on you when he goes to get that stuff. He thinks you're pretty nicely stuck. So,
all right. Well, yeah. I respond. I'm not sure you would know. What a real American would think.
Yeah, he's a sure, Haji, sure. All right, so I hate Crusader already. How about you?
My favorite.
Yeah. So let's see. You say because we're going. First of all, we can do the end of segment 9. Grab your recovery. So I actually think you get your endurance back, and some of your stuff.
-1.
Right. Okay. And so that's not so bad. And you'll be down a few stun, I think, but not too bad.
No, I'm fully recovered.
Okay. So
From that perspective.
yeah. And so now the next thing we do then is go to the speed chart.
I have a speed 3.
Ah, yes. And that's good. That's good. And except when you don't. And
Except for when I have a
right.
speed 5. But
Right.
right now I have a speed 3.
And so he will then continue on his turn, which will be coming up on an earlier number than you, and he says, you know, he says around here, I'm betting that there's some kind of here we go. And so then he's going in to get these antiquities. So I would say it is at the beginning of. I mean, I could take it all. We don't have a standard for when Carhartt shows up in these circumstances. Maybe we should start thinking about that. And I don't want it to be extra advantageous or extra non-advantageous. I would say that it probably would be on Carhartt's next phase. So whatever phase that he gets damaged in, it's Carhartt's next phase that he shows up in. That seems fair in terms of game mechanics.
Okay.
Right. So what phase would you be acting on?
In the beta document, where is the new speed chart? I couldn't find it with a search function.
It's on page 44.
44.
44.
Okay.
And I think you have a speed 4, is that correct? So you would be coming in on 3.
I do.
Yes. And so, yeah, it's pretty easy for 3 it's easy. It's 3, 6, 9. So, for 4, it's written in there somewhere.
For 4, it's 3, 5,
Aha.
7, and 9.
Got it. 3, 5, 7, and 9. All right. So he'll go first on 3, and so he'll go before you, and so he'll basically get into the antiquities room, and kind of with one eye, seeing that you didn't get out. Now he's like, oh, okay, screw you, and he goes in to go and get his to go and get his goodies. The whole room is suffused with a glow. Just to make things fairly simple, it's hard to see where he is because of it. And the odd thing is that from outside, like in the corridor, it creates a dampening effect so that nobody can see what's going on in there or think that anything odd is happening in there. So that's kind of an unpleasant detail of all this, is he gets to go where he likes. Since his action is merely to go somewhere, I can give him a little monologue. He'll say, here, and like flick something at you. It's a little 9/11 remembrance lapel pin. Just a little present. He's gone in, and then on 3 is when Carhartt shows up. Probably still checking to see where his brother is on the phone.
So I also go on 3. What dex roll do you go at?
What's our dex difference?
No, what's your dex, Jason? What's Carhartt's dex?
Okay. The dex is...
Mine's 13.
13.
Oh, okay. So what you guys do is you take whatever order when you're in the same phase, take whatever order you want. And only if you disagree will we work.
That's fine.
Yeah. So when heroes have the same or are tied in a phase, the players just decide who goes first and call it coincidence if they want to. That's cool.
So he's gone in the room. Is he out of view of me now?
Yeah, he is currently out of your immediate sight. And besides, a copy of Toynbee is fallen on your head. So very annoying.
So I...
Oh, even worse. Samuel Huntington's Clash of Civilization fell on your head. Insult.
So I'm going to use my instant change power to change into my hero ID.
Right, enough of this shit, right? Zoosh! Zero phase action, no problem.
Unfortunately, well, we didn't verbally say how my variable power pool was set up. So with your approval, I'm just going to say it's what I've declared as my default.
Oh yeah.
None of which is any helpful to me at all.
Well, I doubly agree then.
in an entangle. So
yeah.
I am going to try and push again.
Okay.
But this time, in my hero ID, I have a 20 strength.
So that's 4 plus 2 more, so that's 6 dice, and that's going to be 4 plus 10, 14 endurance. So you go right ahead.
Yes. All right. That's only 5 dice. Didn't feel
right. It didn't sound right, did it? Yeah.
So 1 6 1 1. So that is 6.
Wait. Oh, right. Sorry. I didn't quite follow that. Just tell me which body you got, so I'm happy.
Six body.
Excellent. All right, this time you actually crack it. You're not out of it yet, but you do actually manage to kind of, I'm going to say, kind of get to your knees, and the kind of coalescent. It's like the light from the shot actually seeped into you, and like enervated you and paralyzed you and stuff. It's really unpleasant. Almost the same psychologically as listening to the son of a bitch, just in a muscular level. It's kind of almost the same thing. So you're struggling up, and right then is when Carhart sticks his head in the door. And Carhart, it is weird in here. Looking around, and you can barely see across the room to where somebody is standing up. Your familiarity with the curator, probably, and the fact that he's dressed like the curator, means that it should be fairly easy to recognize him. But if you didn't have that familiarity, you can't see enough of him to really see too many details. And like the other far corners of the room aren't even visible in this kind of swimming weird light that's distorting the way everything looks. Power involved is darkness. You've got 1 level of darkness in the room. That's what I'm describing mechanically.
I was thinking the way that when you're needed, you're there power worked is I was on the highway driving towards Venice Beach.
Right.
Wasn't paying any attention. And then suddenly I'm parked in front of someone's house.
Got it. Okay, so right now you're in a reserved parking spot. Like a parking spot for the department head or something. He's there. So it would probably be a parking spot for some assistant right in front of this. Sorry?
Is Kasim in his house or in his office? I missed that.
No, we are actually at the departmental library inside the building.
Okay. So I'm driving along on the freeway, and then suddenly I'm pulling into a parking space in UCLA in front of a library/office building.
Correct.
Library?
No, it's an academic department. In this part of campus, everything is detached, so you don't have these kind of Midwestern and Eastern universities that are like Egyptian fortresses. Instead, you've got a bunch of detached buildings scattered all around, with a web work of parking lots. And so network, I guess, of parking lots. And so therefore it's very easy to tell what building. It's very easy to tell what building this little small parking lot goes with because it's right there. Nicely landscaped too. White rocks, crushed white rocks. Little hedges running around the bottom. It's a newish building.
So
it's a new history building.
This is, excuse me, history is over there. You can follow the stale smell. This, my friend, is the fusion center of political science and the analysis of past events, or something like that.
I pulled up in front of the library, and I realized what's happened. I've been moved because the curator, right? So on impulse, I leap out of the work truck and run into the nearest building, figuring that's going to be it, right? Because I never really know what's going on.
Exactly.
At this point, I burst into the library upon the scene.
Okay, well, the situation is actually a little more general than that. You go into the academic department, and you can hear a bunch of voices off in a conference room over there on the first floor. Just people in quiet conversation, and it definitely does not sound dangerous over there. You're going to have to orient a little bit to get some idea of where any, listening or just orienting. It's a perception check to get some idea of where to go now.
Maybe after all, you were both right. Maybe danger sense should be linked to this power.
I was going to say a little orientation's not that bad an idea.
I go, okay, I think this way.
Right, right.
Maybe give me a little orientation. So following danger sense, I think we're heading here right.
Yeah, there would still be a perception roll involved, so you want to make that roll now.
Okay, so I need to roll what precisely?
Your perception roll. If you don't have any levels in perception, then it's the same as your intelligence roll.
I make it by 3.
Excellent. Right. Right. The nice thing, too, about the original champions, I don't know if it's nice or not, because we all changed at the table, but the only rolls that matter are 3, your target number, and 18. So there isn't ever counting any degrees of success. So...
either make it or I don't. Okay, that's fine.
Right. And so, right. So, excellent. So you're like, okay, up there, you can go up the short staircase and to the area that includes the library section, which is fairly extensive. It's a good third of the top half of the building. The library is kind of a big deal. There's probably a governor's name, a former governor's name associated with the library. So you can pound in there and look about a little bit and see what you can see, and you'll see the situation as I described a minute ago.
Okay. I run into the Governor Brown Senior Library.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry. Okay. What do I see before me? I see the curator is somewhat pinned to the ground by a partial entangle.
Right. Which
that's probably my move at this point, right?
Right. Yeah, just arriving, I think, getting up there and the stairs is probably good enough. You got super leap, so I figure running up the stairs is a little quicker for you than most people. So, and so I'll call it that.
Because I can leap up the stairwell.
Exactly. No, totally get it. Totally get it. Yeah. We have the curators moved remaining. Yes.
Should I bother with any endurance tracking at this point?
I think we might as well get used to it. So that's going to be a full move for the super leap, which is pretty cheap, as I recall.
So that would be 4 endurance because I essentially
right, which could mean nothing until you take like a 66 endurance drain from an attack or something, and it'll start to be really important.
Sure.
Right. So good. Let's have it. I believe the curator has a move on this
I got
phase.
4. Are we on 4 now?
Yes, that was on 3, so this is going to be on 4.
Yeah, I'm on 4. So how much do I think I broke out versus not broke out so far?
You've got you've destroyed 2 body on a 5-point entangle. So you're basically racking it down by onesies and twosies as you go. And and so this is going to take a long time to get out by yourself.
I'm now I made all these standard constructs. I'm thinking of a construct that would help me.
Gotta love that variable part, right?
Even though I have a defined halberd, I'm going to get kind of a
new halberd. A shorter halberd, yes.
A shorter halberd to kind of help me cut my way out. So I think, maybe some defined as some piercing on my strength.
Oh, beautiful. Excellent. Although we say wait, did I say piercing? Whatever. That stuff. I know what you mean.
Isn't it piercing? Did I get it wrong?
No, I think it is. Piercing is what puts body through defenses. So that's exactly the way to do it. So that's gorgeous. You can't buy a naked. You can't buy a naked advantage, no, but you can buy strength that is piercing, and that's okay.
Yeah. So piercing is with what advantage? What's the score on the advantage?
I believe it's only a half, although I don't have all these memorized, and I've shifted them around a little bit as I've dinked around with all the different ways to arrive at killing attacks.
It's listed as a 1.
Right. Okay. Well, then it's a 1. Okay. Good.
In the book.
But still, that's good enough for 4 or 5 dice, right?
Yeah. So I'm gonna attempt to change to a 4 die.
Right.
Piercing attack. So I'm putting my skill level into
12 or less.
My mystic skill, which is so 12 or less. And no, I did not.
Shit. Oh, bummer. Okay, right.
So I used up half an action doing that, and I'm going to spend the rest pushing my strength.
Right. Curses. Right. So the what's troubling about this? All I'm going to say is that your character has the backgrounds to do some thinking about what's happened when you get a breather, when you get a chance to think about it. So,
okay.
Right. Special effects matter a lot. That was not like an ordinary, I mean, that was not some gadget the dude used, okay? So, what was it? Okay. Jason, you guys might be wondering what that guy is up to in that room now because he's. Do you want to say anything to Carhart? Because you do get a free monologue.
He's the bad guys in the room in there.
I think my monologue to start with is something along the lines of "What the."
That's right. Pendejo, what now? You know.
No, we're on segment 5, right? What's segment 5? Okay.
So just a rule question real quick. Was it a full action or a half action to try and adjust the pool?
Half.
So the rest of my 4 is pushing. To
free. Let's see. There's a skill roll and then an attempt to break free. Yeah, that's okay. It's stuffing your phase a little bit, but I'm okay with that because the skill roll was not an attack.
Okay, well, that's what I was asking, whether it was allowed or not. If it is,
no, you go right ahead, although it's something I should think about, I think, because is a skill attempt as good as an attack for stopping your phase? That's a good question. But we don't have to answer it right now. Go with as written. You go ahead.
Okay, so I have the 20 strength. I'm pushing, so 6 dice.
Mm-hmm.
7.
Ooh. All right. Yeah, you struggle up. You're like on one knee now. You got there's only 2 body left in there, so you've definitely that actually ripped through a fair amount of it. And so yeah. Too bad about that piercing. I was kind of looking forward to that. And so Carhart can see that the curator is very much struggling against something. The effect too is like these glowing worm-like lights keep crawling into him and crawling out of him, like all over his body, and like, you know, making parts of his body go limp and stuff like that. So
I yell for Carhart to I say, there's an evil crusader in the next room trying to steal priceless artifacts. Go stop him.
Yeah, because being told what to do by everybody is exactly what Carhart does with his time. So,
being that I am, despite appearances, being that I'm not a sidekick.
That's right.
The first thing I do is half move over to the curator, and 30 strength, I can just casual that. Right?
Oh yeah, yeah, absolutely. I mean, you can actually, you will have to spend the endurance for it, but there is no need. But you can literally stand him up and kind of almost, I wouldn't say like shake him like a dog, but it's very much your own strength actually just pulls him out of this webwork of light that he's been trapped in. So yeah, that you can do. So no. He's being helpful. The Boy Scout is being helpful and helps the fallen one instead of going and catching the bad guy. So you guys are looking at each other. That's the end, I believe, of the. That's the end, I believe, of that phase.
Yeah, that's fine.
Right.
End of 5.
I gotta run though. Okay. I'll do that though. Okay. Bye. Sorry, gentlemen. I didn't anticipate that. My apologies. What did I miss?
No, hardly anything. That's okay. I was just pointing out that that's the end of the phase of your action, and we're good. You guys are probably still wondering where our bad guys are, and at this point, let me relieve your worries in that regard. As Crusader and another person walk very casually, like power walking, glide power walking out into this library room. And there is Crusader, and then there's also Sumi. I like capes. And so
No capes.
Yeah, I know enough. Memes enough. It was one movie, for God's sake, get over it. And so I've got 80 years of comic book capes. You've got one movie, come on. So the caped fellow who comes out, whose color scheme is primarily gold and black. But with other color highlights, kind of a confusing, gleaming effect going on, comes out, and that person's face is unmasked. Another man who also has that same smirking look that you're familiar with from Bell. Different features, and a little younger than Bell. So, right. Also, at this point, considering that we're at where Speed 2 goes, is when a whole bunch of confused voices are saying, in the library, what's going on? What's up there? Something's happening. Oh no. The Iraqi antiquities. Blah, blah, blah. All this kind of talk from outside.
Okay. And that puts us on segment 6?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And let's just double check a little bit on my numbers. I'm actually suddenly discovering I'm confusing myself a sec. So, as I recall, that's a 4. That's a 6.
2 goes on segment 5, then after we go. Okay, got it.
Right. Yeah. And I just want to, you know what? I have a little sleeve device that a fellow made all the way back around 1990, where you actually wrote down all the characters' names and slid like the little sleeve per segment.
Oh, that's
And you have them down and by dexterity, and so that way everybody who goes is right there in a little column. And you just like moved the sleeve as you went. So I want one of those back for the new speed chart. Okay, help me out, gentlemen. We were on 6 now, correct?
Yeah, I go on 6. I know
Yes. And the first one, right? So the first one to go on 6 is going to be, is going to be the. Sorry, go ahead.
that. I'm to a 14 or less, just so.
Right.
My
Yeah, you're actually quite fast. And so double checking that, you're going to do a roll off with the Crusader. This is the first time you've been on the same phase. So go ahead and give me. It's got to have to be. I've been wondering how to do roll offs so they're easy. Do I want to make them hard and highly specific so that there's a better or worse chance, or is it just going to be 50-50? We're going to go with 50-50 for now, so just roll a single die.
1.
Oh, okay. Well, I get a 4. Yeah. Crusader is going to, at this point, will say, "Oh, come on," as he sees the two of you. And he's going first, and so he goes toom 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 with his guns. And they're not like, they behave like a Western Colt behaves, you know. So he goes boom, 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 boom like that when he shoots. Whole bunch of shots. Auto fire is gone. It's just area effect. So, because I fucking hate auto fire. All right, so there is his roll to hit, which is really wretched, although he's got a pretty good CV for it. So he hits your hex, where both of you are, no problem. Hex as. Hits that, no problem. Now we do your DCV roll to see how you do. And if you want to go to a dodge, you're going to be canceling your next action.
I'm not going to go to dodge.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So...
I'm not going to go to dodge either.
Excellent. So name your CVs for me, or your dexes of interest at the moment.
My dex is 14.
Okay. Right. Well, he does.
And
how about you?
Dex is 13.
Okay. Well, given that roll, the Crusader, you know, having had these guns pointed at him before, let's just say that the rolls dictate that the Crusader has just that little extra edge of no, not again. Is able to just get out of the, you know, just manage to position himself so that 2 shots go like right past him at, you know, different places. And therefore the Curator is not hit. Carhartt takes a few. Toom, 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 toom. And so is going to be hit for the, by the way, that doesn't mean like extra damage for multiple hits. That's not what I'm talking about. It's just special effect because he filled the whole hexes with flying bolts. So, therefore, a couple of interesting points. First of all, this is probably going to bounce because it's going to do 22 stun and 6 body. Now that 6 body is going to penetrate ordinary defense, but you've got a ton of resistant defense, Carhartt. So it's not, that's, I think you're going to take 1 whole stun, or however much that was. 22. I think you're going to take
I
two
think
whole
I
stun.
take two stun.
Right. So basically, it tickles. However, what doesn't tickle? Remember that they're light bolts. They're like not bullet.
Right.
They feel like bullets, but the effect where they hit doesn't penetrate like bullet does or wound. It like glows right there when you got hit by the entangle. Like all these glowy spots started on you, and then they like turned into worms of light that just crawled back and forth and around inside you. Here, it's going to be a little different. One of them hits you right between the eyes, and there's this glow there, which is why you suddenly lose 10 points of intelligence. So your intelligence is now down to what? 1 or 2, I believe.
1.
Right.
Okay. So it's a drain.
Right. Exactly.
Into 1. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So what this means is that you're going to have to make to attempt to do anything. You're going to have to make a roll, and in this case, that's going to be a 3 is your only hope of success. So to do anything like directed or sensible, or without, maybe somebody will be able to tell you what to do, but you're going to have hardly any way to, or you're having a terrible time figuring out what to do. So, so that's what Crusader does. Who goes next?
This means I'm not entangled.
No, it was a different power entirely. Right. He was hit with a high impact plus entangle, knocks you off your feet, and you're kind of all paralyzed. This one hits you with very dangerous, lethal damage to an ordinary person, or very wounding, and this kind of fuzzed out effect. So the actual content of what you're experiencing is that you can't. Who's right and who's wrong isn't, who can tell who's right and who's wrong? Who is that guy? Wait, where was I? Very disoriented. So the darkness doesn't help either. It's kind of like the light effect in the room is accentuated inside your head right now. All right. And so I believe the curator has the next move.
Yes, so I'm going to attempt again to adjust my power.
Ah, okay. Really? Okay, go ahead.
Because I don't have anything.
Oh, no, really? Nothing to just hit the son of a bitch? Okay, go ahead. Oh, you're up to you. You're out of the entangle, remember? Carhartt ripped you out of the entangle.
I'm out of the entangle, but so since I failed, since I tried to,
you're back where you were. Yeah, you're back.
I'm back where I was. Okay, well then I'll.
Yeah, fortunately, the failed roll didn't bump you into a flat line. You're back. You just didn't change.
Okay.
Right.
Okay. Then, is the space big enough for me to get on my horse?
It's not. Yeah, I don't think you can really build up.
Game effect 1 level of growth.
Yeah. Well, yes, that you can do. You'll take up a considerable. You basically just fill up the hex you're in with 1 level of growth, and it is possible. You are definitely going to be, the proverbial bull in a china shop, but yes.
Then I'm going to go ahead and do that.
Oh, okay. Woof.
And how far away from me is he? Because I was knocked back.
Yes. Well, and also he did move to that other end of the room to get into the special locked up area. And I would say that you are, about 3 hexes away.
3 hexes away? Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go ahead and half move over next to him. And I have my mace in one hand. And so basically I have my horse and my mace are the 2 powers.
Wow.
That
with
I have
you
now.
barreling in with your horse and swinging the mace, it's almost as though you are filling the psychological space of the room. I mean, there may be, feet and inches on either side of you and above you, but not very many. And there's really, I mean, like nobody could get around you, at this point.
Yeah. Now I want to make sure that when I'm swinging at him, that I didn't hear any description of the antiquities being in his hands or
right, correct,
or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
Do I see them?
That's a good point. I think that you might fairly guess that he probably has possession of those.
Okay. Where do I have any?
Unless you want to stop and take a half action to do a perception on this, you're out of luck. You're in the thick of combat.
I will take that half action.
Oh, you're protective of him. That's true. Okay. So make your perception roll.
Very good perception.
Oh, all right then. Yes, the one who has them is Crusader, and it's in a satchel that he's got slung, and it was somewhat behind him, so that you didn't get a really good look at it. I mean, you were busy avoiding being shot a second ago, so.
Sure, absolutely.
Right, but now with a look, he was like, aha, he's got him.
Okay, well then I'll know what to do on 7 when it's my turn.
All right, and so the other thing to do on 6 is up here. Yeah. All right, here we go. The other individual calls out in a voice of thunder and says, "Americans stands together." And all the murmuring voices outside all hush, and then all speak at once, and they all say, "Together," say all the people who are gathering simultaneously. When that happens, the individual in the cape rises up off the floor, and kind of like you, it's like he takes up more space than he kind of should, psychologically speaking. Floats up, and you can see, around each fingertip, this is very different. This is a disturbing, chaotic distortion around each fingertip. You can see that this person's face, I said it wasn't covered, but now that he's doing this, an upside down cross has appeared, superimposed over his face. And he seems to be speaking in a language that you recognize, which is a distorted and rather disturbing corruption of Aramaic. And so, yeah, something weird and fucking religious is going on over there. So, yeah. Oh, good, excellent, because he has high presence. So, so yes, that's what happens there. He has established. It's like Glorious Godfrey from the New Gods. He doesn't have power over the crowd, but if he has a crowd, they become his superpower. That's kind of what's going on with this. Who goes next? I'm looking at you guys have to be in charge of the speed chart, not me. I'm being a really bad GM over that right now. But I believe that we are now. I believe the curator is coming in on 7.
I come in on 7, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well,
yeah, that's
tactically, I would like to stop the crowd, but I am going to continue to protect those artifacts.
Right.
So I'm not going to. Just so you know, I was thinking of putting my force wall in front of the door, so they couldn't leave and the crowd couldn't get in. But that's not the best. But while that may be the best tactical thing, that's not what my character would want to do at this time.
Talk to me what you do. Tell me what you do.
I am going to attempt to hit him with my Mace of Light, So it's a glowing mace, and try and hit him and see.
Which him are we talking about?
The Crusader has the with the bag.
Gotcha. Okay. With special avoidance of bag involved in your head, if I'm not mistaken. Yes.
That's right.
Okay.
Yes.
So what do we got?
And so my overall level is in offense.
Mm-hmm.
And
it's a martial strike too, if I'm not mistaken. Correct?
It's a martial strike. So in game effect, because I'm on my horse, I have a 25 strength, and it is plus 2d6 from the mace, plus it gives a 1d6 splash.
I love this stuff. I just do.
Combined. So
excellent.
It's a martial strike. So basically, with all the pluses, it
comes to 10 dice, I believe.
Plus
one of flash.
Plus one of flash.
Yeah.
If I succeed. Mm-hmm. And I think I did. I rolled a 4.
With an extremely satisfying strike on... You know what? The artist has a great time with this. This is not just a 1 panel size out of 6 panels. This is a money shot, right? And so, this is the horse. I mean, this is the mace has got to come around in this huge arc. And you're going to roll your 10 dice of damage with that wonderful clattery champion sound of damage rolling. And
okay, and so in terms of body, body is 10, and stun. I'm a little out of practice. Let's see, 10, 20, 35.
Excellent. Remember, find the 10s. We all know how.
Right, yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So 35, and the flash is 2.
2. Excellent. All right. Well, the effect is very dramatic. You know, you knock Crusader, flying all over the place. As a matter of fact, here, roll a single die.
1.
1. No knockback. You do not knock him flying. The way knockback works now, you've probably read it. If you roll a 6 on that die, then you count the body, and that's how much knockback. If you roll a 1, there's no knockback. And if anything else, you roll that number, 2, 3, 4, 5, that's how many hexes. If you have the high impact advantage, then it's just the body. So that's why he was able to fling you with just a 3-die attack when it had high impact. So it's actually easier than the old method, and it's preserved some of the interesting randomosity of it. Plus, I wanted a real benefit from getting high impacts, because that should be a really brutal advantage. So, cool. Yeah.
In retrospect, I'd rather him not go flying.
Oh, okay. Well, true. Yes. Guess what? That is lucky, because the artifacts are safe. The artifacts are 100% safe because he is not knocked back. That is fantastic. So, bam! And so, you have... I'm going to actually say that you actually brought it straight down, which is also cool to draw. Very Thor. And so, yes, you have done that, and the impact is savage. Crusader is staggered. You don't know if he's stunned or not. You'll find out. And who's next? Next is probably going to be Apocrypha. Right. Hey, you guys throw all this religious shit at me. I got a whole bag of religious villains coming back at you. So, especially if the religion in question is American exceptionalism. I mean, it's like the candy store of GMing. So what we have now is Apocrypha. And Apocrypha assesses the situation and does what all heroes hate the most. barely makes the ego roll necessary to change course of what they were there to do. Actually makes the ego roll necessary to change course and activates their escape clause as a nimbus grows between them and begins to completely envelop their bodies. To know what their destination is by looking at it, you're going to have to make some kind of perception roll. But at the moment, you can tell by looking down through it that they're going to be going somewhere else. Exactly the details is going to require a perception roll. You can either do that, or considering that Carhartt's going to have a real hard. In fact, Carhart, make an intelligence roll just to see how we do.
I'm going to step away for just a 1 minute because I have battery issues on my phone.
Oh, okay, hold on, sure. Jason, did you get a 3?
Let me roll. So I'm essentially at the moment a superpowered 2-year-old.
That's correct.
Okay.
But with 3, you can operate normally.
I did not roll. I did not roll a 3.
Okay.
Can I do what a 2-year-old would do?
Yes. Yes, you can. You are not unfree to act. What you are is unfree to direct yourself rationally. Therefore, you can have lots of fun. Even so.
I think I would run and hit the scary man. And what could be more scary than the scary man than a pocker?
Not going to give you that one. Undirected action. Yeah, undirected action is the goal. Like hitting the ground, or like tearing something up, or wandering around, or something like that. But actually conducting an attack is maybe if you had a CV of 0, maybe I could with an offensive CV of 0.
Okay. We think.
But hold on just a sec, because actually the next person to go is the curator's there, who is operative at the moment. So I'm going to give, you can either look and see where they're going, or you can try to make a dex roll to grab those antiquities away as they're disappearing.
I will take the antiquities. They can.
Yeah, it's right. It's right there, and it's a dex. I mean, it's like a focus, right? It's just a grab.
Okay. Then I will.
That's a completely legitimate move on your part.
Uh-huh. I'm going to go ahead and even use my overall level because I want to make sure.
You really want this, I know. Yeah.
I want to succeed. And that's a 12. So that makes my dex roll.
Excellent. All right. So you can nab that as they disappear, which should be a very satisfying feeling to you. And poor Carhart over there is going to have to wait for a recovery, which comes imminently, and his full recovery effect is in place, so it comes back. And your mind is back, and the two of you are looking at each other, and it's segment 9-ish, or coming up on 9, and so therefore the room is just beginning to be opened by all these people. Now, the mind control is dropped, so the crowd is now really confused. They're like, something's wrong, and they're milling around, and what happened, and so you guys are imminently in danger of being encountered. You can decide what to do about that in the next split second.
Is the door is open, I assume?
Correct, but that light is fading.
Are there any other exits besides the one we came in?
As a faculty member, you would know this area intimately, and the emergency exit is over there. And considering that safety of the artifacts and the books is a top priority, the ability to get easily out of the building from here is engineered into the building.
And okay, I think that I'm going to recommend that we make our leave, but not take the artifacts with us.
Okay.
that
Okay.
I don't believe that the people from the university are going to try and destroy them.
No, probably not. Yeah, they're probably safe. That's true. Yeah. Go ahead, Jason. What's that?
I say to the curator, what was all that South Carolina shit right there just about?
I couldn't quite hear that, Jason.
He asked what all the South Carolina stuff was about.
Carolina shit was all about right there.
Excellent. All right. Well, the fact is, you guys can get out of the building if you want to, and that's okay. In your sort of classic heroes flee the scene, I suppose. And so,
I'm going to do that, and I'm going to recommend that. I'm going to say that South Carolina crazy. You're right.
I said, so if the curator is quickly heading out the emergency exit, I'd follow.
excellent. All right. So that's no problem. You guys are able to, and I believe you dehorse, if I'm not mistaken. And so that's fine. All right, guys. Cool. Let's do a little logical follow-up, just for a little bit to finish out the session. What will you talk to each other about?
Well, perhaps, I'm sorry, you go first.
Well, even though I heard the GM's answer to this, I'm still going to ask the question because I'm going to pretend I didn't.
Ooh, I can't even remember answering anything, so go ahead.
So, did you see anything down the tunnel? Because I didn't have time. I was grabbing the artifact.
Just pretty lights, nothing but pretty lights and eyes. I saw their eyes. Pretty lights and eyes.
Man.
So I explained to him that the guy with the artifacts, his name is Crusader, and he doesn't like me so much. We first met each other in Afghanistan.
Right. And he actually probably didn't know who you were. But 2 and 2 together isn't that hard at this point for him. So there's that, and there's so yes, there's some personal history here. A couple of other points to go over. Do you guys? I guess for the first session is not always the best for, all the kind of social role playing and stuff. It's usually just a fling you together kind of situation. And so I guess I'm trying to say, will the two of you, I assume you don't just high-five each other and just walk off into the night in separate directions. I assume you guys actually might hang out for a while and compare what's been going on and, use a little thought about the world and what you're doing in it. So
Sure. Carhart admits to the curator that he's always been a little unclear about what he does. And this kind of clears things up a little more.
Yes. One of the things that is perhaps worth considering is that this is the first time you've really heard the Crusader state his point of view. Doesn't surprise you that he would state his point of view in a complacent, arrogant, patronizing, and authoritative way. But he's obviously not alone. He and Apocrypha had obviously, were working together and strategizing in some fashion. You also don't know where Apocrypha came from. Crusader went into that room alone and they came out together. So
the tracing V-like structure that was the targeting of me, do I think that came from Apocrypha, or do I think that came from...
No, that was actually the design on the Crusader's outfit.
Okay.
And instead of having like a big cross like a Templar on him or any of that shit, nothing of the kind. Instead, it was kind of a classy action American outfit, And now that you think about it, he had his own lapel pin. And so yeah, the V on his face was pretty much just scary. It's a great image, it's just scary to look at. You immediately lose the features of the face. Another person wouldn't have been able to describe it, his face, just because the design is striking enough. And then I just love, how some comics artists, it's like Mr. Miracle. Is he wearing a mask, or is his face just painted, or what is that? Because all his features are all still there, It's I like that as a comics design. I think it's cool. I can't explain it. What the hell is that on his face? But I like the way it looks. What's that, Jason?
Yes, what we know about
the artifact. I mean, this is...
Yes, good point. Okay, the artifact is a really good point. What we're talking about here, and you don't even have to make an intelligence roll for the basics, they were going after one of the earliest forms of institutional Christianity. The actual name would be the Assyrian Church of the East, which is one of the very earliest branches that's very distinctive even from all the forms. Chaldean actually is much... It's actually much older than that. These actually go all the way back to the 3rd century, and it's and is called Assyrian. Yeah, we can talk more about the history. It's pretty freaking cool, actually. The Church of Alexandria broke off, or became the primary institutional church out of Alexandria, according to my diagram, at the Council of Chalcedon in 451. This is from before that. This is the branch from Assyria that didn't become part of that. And so, it is very much native to where it came from.
Gnostic artifact.
Oh man, this is before. I mean, this is when everybody was arguing about Gnosticism.
Okay.
It's post Constantine, but not by much. So, all right. But the point is that this is something that attests to the existence of Christianity before its revisionist and formational definitions of the march of Orthodox Christianity. Meeting after meeting, scholar after scholar, saint after saint, what Christianity is took shape. This actually is older than that. Whatever they were saying in that church is fragmentary.
So you're saying it's pre-Nicene Council?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And so, what is
it? Doesn't sound very pro-American either.
Well, it certainly is a test to the idea that Christianity is not a European phenomenon, that the Europeans are latecomers. And particularly that even if you talk about Greece, you're talking about the Eastern Mediterranean, which is the border of a more centralized part of the continent, and not the West. You see what I'm doing? It actually, just its very existence, strikes at the notion of the West. Boom.
What is
it exactly? The actual object in question is it's not a cross, it's a cup, and it is it's bronze, and it is very what's the word I want? Functional looking, as if somebody actually used it. But it has one casing where a gem had been placed, which is long gone. And it's not like it's not from Constantinople. It's not covered with gold. It's not like got filigree all over it. Nobody labored over it to put layer after layer after layer of silver or anything on it. It's not humble. I mean, it's really elegant. Clearly like a ritual thing, but it looks as though something somebody would use rather than just put up on a shelf. And so So it's not a chalice. Does that make sense at all? Do I need to?
Yeah. Sure.
Okay.
It's not like something a carpenter would own, is it?
No. Yeah, I know what you're saying, but no.
Okay.
Given what Bell had talked about, the idea of effacing and erasing that history makes perfectly good sense. It makes much better sense to say that Jerusalem or no Jerusalem, that Christianity's roots are in Rome and in Germany. Thank you very much.
So we're dealing with sort of an American version of ISIS.
Yeah, you can kind of find it in every institutional religion. This sort of, our story is the right story, and never mind, don't confuse me with facts and geography. That would be upsetting.
Well, I know what they need to steal next.
What do you have in mind?
And the Nag Hammadi Codex.
Aha.
That's
Absolutely.
what you gotta get next.
Yeah.
Some people might say that they're extensive and manipulative.
I would say that may well be the case. Yes, I do. I read those Hunteds very carefully. The other thing that I will point out is that when you look, let's finish up by wrapping up just a little bit. Two things. Your brother is not to be found, and you might have a bad night talking to a bunch of confused musicians to try and track him down. And then, although some of them are gone too.
Confused what?
Musicians.
That's most of Venice Beach.
Say that again, Jason. I'm sorry.
That's most confused musician is most of Venice Beach.
Absolutely correct. And so, anyway, so yes, there's just setting up a little for next time. Your brother's nowhere to be found. Hope is going to have a long conversation with you about disappearances among both convict laborers and among undocumented workers. She's following up on a lead that a certain fraction of them are going missing, and the records for it that she happened upon are being covered up. So she's following kind of a lead at this point and is talking to you about it. I like Hope. I'm looking forward to playing her when we get the chance, when we get to interact. So we'll deal with that later. I hope I was able to live up to some of the political/cultural context. We didn't get the Mexican as I wanted to get. Next session we get Mexican, but you guys kind of kitchen sinks me on that stuff. So I'm like, God, how much breadth of culture can I deal with in one session, for Christ's sake? So
no, it's good, Ron. Thank you.
Yeah, but
absolutely. Thank you very much.
Thank you guys. It was great. I'll talk to you guys later on.
All right.
Take care.
See you guys later.